What's up, what's up, what's up, my fellow creators? Welcome, guys. I hope you're having a beautifully, phenomenally blessed day. Thank you for joining me for a moment in my grief series. And I just want to let you guys know that it's a true honor being here, hopefully inspiring you guys to do what is best for you. Remind you always, you have the power to change your life. You just have to claim that power back, no matter how hard it is. That is my prayer and my hope for these videos. With that being said, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel down below, set that notification bell so you always know when the next video does go live. And today we are going down the rabbit hole with using death as a crutch, right? And not just anything. It's using death as a feel-bad crutch. I've met a lot of people. And I met a lot of people who use death as a way to make other people feel sorry for them, because there are a lot of times when we somehow, all of us, not just certain people, when we all feel better when somebody pities us. And a lot of people are like, I don't want your pity. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who do want someone's pity because it makes them feel not alone. Death is one of those things where people bring it up because it was so insincere when the person that they loved passed away. It was so insincere how people approached them. It was so insincere how the world acknowledged what was going on. And in turn, they themselves were not able to acknowledge the death. And what ends up happening is that you use that as a shock factor towards people to bring it up. Oh, well, so-and-so died in my life and you don't know what that feels like. You know, we can sit in a state of pretending like we don't think that anybody else knows how we feel. And in honesty, we can say that that is true. No one knows how you feel. No one knows how I feel. No one knows how Sam feels. No one knows how Betty feels, right? Because the perspective of each of us is completely unique. It's not because other people haven't experienced a similar situation to you. It's because everybody's perspective on life is unique. And the more that you rely on this as a difference, the more you will segregate yourself from the community that you could have surrounded yourself with in order to help you overcome the tragedy of death. And it doesn't matter how it happened. It doesn't matter what the story was that happened that's attached to that. Death is a tragedy in its own. Losing someone is hard. It's heartbreaking. It's harsh. So when you've lost somebody, the more you separate yourself, the more alone you feel. And I've known people who have done this. When my brother passed away, my mom, she told everybody that none of us knew how she felt. And in honesty, we didn't, because that was her child. Of course we wouldn't know how she felt because she carried him for 9 months. She had a bond with him that only a mother can have with a child. But we all loved my brother. We all loved him so very much. And instead of us being able to all come together to support one another, she had singled herself out. And in turn, she didn't get any support that she was looking for. And she just kept saying it was because we were all insincere, and we were all in a place of selfishness and we didn't want to support her. When in reality, it was because she didn't want anybody to think, like, to feel. She didn't want anybody to feel the way that she felt, and she didn't know how to make anybody feel the way that she felt, and she didn't feel the same way that anybody else felt, and so that made her feel different. We spend all our lives feeling different, and the only reason we spend our lives feeling different is because we are all different. There is no norm in life, and there is no norm when it comes to death. Death can bring out the best in people, or it can bring out the worst in people, or it can bring out something in between those two scales. It was hard because my grandma made it seem like she had lost her own son. And my mom spent so much time supporting my grandma that she forgot to grieve herself. She didn't know how to cry over my brother. And I posted a video recently talking about what happens when we don't talk about it, right? And that's what happened. When my mom couldn't grieve, it turned into, we can't even mention my brother's name because it would hurt too much. When you view yourself as separate from all of society, what happens is you send that intention out to the universe and suddenly you do feel separate when you don't need to. It's not about feeling the same. Support is not about someone knowing exactly what you've gone through. That's not what support is. Support is just someone being able to be there with you in your time of need. But if you think constantly that you're separate from everyone else, no one will ever be able to come up to your expectation of what you think support should be. So then we end up using death as a bad crutch, and it's that crutch to just instantly zing people when we think they don't know what they're talking about, which is unfair. You don't want to be treated like that, and yet as a person who's experienced great tragedy in their own lives, I've had that happen to me many times where people have shot out at me thinking that they're going to hurt me. And the thing is that if you don't know what another person has gone through, maybe they've experienced more tragedy than you have. But you don't know that because you're so stuck in your own grief. And the reason I bring this up is because this actually happened a few days ago to me while I was on a walk. I met up with a lady out while I was walking, and I was walking my dog. And my dog is older. She turned 13. She's much older. I love her to death. But, like we all know, life is very short for our furry friends, right? And they teach us so much about the importance of living in this now moment and enjoying what time that we have. And she was telling me how she had to put down her dog and how it was the worst thing in the world. She don't ever think that she'll have another dog because of it, another animal, let alone. And I told her that. I said, they teach us a very important lesson in life. They teach us how important it is to be thankful for the moments that we have. And right off the bat, she shot out, well, I'm a widow and my husband died and then my dog died and now what's next? There's a lesson there. I'm not mad that she came at me like that. I bring it up the way she said it because I want you to know that this is how it sounds. That's how it sounds. It just sounds like a pop shot. Like I'm just going to hit you one in the gut and hope it takes you down so that you can feel bad for trying to give me advice. It's not advice. I wasn't giving her advice. I was speaking a truthful moment. Death brings out such a weird side in people. Some people cannot handle it. And that's why I make these grief series. It's to remind us that we're not alone. We don't have to carry the burden alone. When there are people who are willing to talk to us and there are people who are willing to listen. But if you don't want to talk about it, you can't expect another person to want to take the energy and effort to drag it out of you. We become, in this moment, of using grief as a bad crutch. It's not easy. It's not easy. None of this is easy. The only thing that any of us are promised in life is death. And I'm done with this statement of, oh no, it's taxes and death. We need to stop making a joke about it and honor the truth of this. It's not taxes and death. The only thing one human being is promised, one living being, something that is alive and animated, the trees, the plants, it does not matter. The only thing that any of us are promised in life is death. We don't need to be afraid of it. We need to acknowledge it so that we can begin to live here in this now moment and taking every breath and every moment that we have seriously. Instead of just thinking that, oh, it'll never happen to me, because one day it will. One day it will. And do you want that day to come and all you have on your mind is the regret of the things that you didn't do? And it's not about the money. It's not about the time. It's not about any of that, because everything we do in life is a choice. You can choose to go home and sit in front of the TV and not engage with your family. Or you can choose to go home and have a dinner at the table and turn off everything and have a conversation with those you love. You can choose to go home and ignore everything around you, or you can choose to go out and enjoy life. You can choose to say, I don't have time, or you can choose to make time. Grief does not have to be your stopping point. If you're depressed, then feel that depression. It doesn't mean that it's going to stay for forever. The storm always passes. But sometimes you have to instigate the passing of the storm. Otherwise, it will consume you. If you let it consume you, it can quickly turn into a hurricane. It can quickly turn into a tornado. It can quickly turn into a tsunami. It doesn't have to be that way. Please check out my other videos. I give tips and tricks on how to overcome this. And I will always encourage grief counseling, because grief counseling is something that can help a lot of people. And you think it's therapy, it's not. They don't call it grief because it's just a fly-by-night thing. They call it grief because it can affect every aspect of our everyday lives. And losing somebody when we're young, say you lost somebody when you were in your 20s, that can affect you all the way until the last day you take your last breath. But it doesn't have to be that way. And it starts by not using grief as a bad crutch to make other people feel bad. It could be a conversation topic, absolutely. Are you willing and ready and open to have that conversation? Because not everybody is. So just remember, when you go out there, it's not about keeping it in. It's about being compassionate and knowing that you don't know what another person's story is. Just because they may be happy, just because they may seem like they have the perfect life, it doesn't mean that they haven't been through trauma or tragedy. It just means that they've learned how to deal with it. They've learned how to face it, not run from it. So the next time you get upset, instead of shooting off towards somebody and trying to be in that place of pity me for what I've gone through, ask yourself, why do I feel that way? And see what answers you get. I can't promise they'll be there in 30 seconds, in a minute, in an hour, in a day. But you've asked yourself, and yourself gives you that space and time to allow the answer to come to fruition. Right? So this is what I have for you guys. I hope that this helps. I'm sending you out so much light and love. I know you guys can do this. You're amazing individuals. And with that being said, go forth boldly, my fellow creators, and courageously find creative ways to rise above in life, laughter, and love. Until we meet each other again. Mwah. Peace out. I love y'all. Bye.